plays, they can make things happen. On defense, they're doing a hell of a job of stopping the run. That's something they've emphasized, and you can see that coming into play. And they have talent. They're a young, talented team. At some point, it's going to click, and they're going to put it all together. On special teams, Jabril is a dynamic punt returner. Matthew, he has a 71-yarder and a 53-yarder this year on kick returns. So they're pretty explosive. It's definitely a team that we cannot. I can't believe someone would call this a trap game. This is a good football team, and they're coming in our place, and we got to be ready to play.
Coach, it was reported that Casey Hayward's brother was killed in a car accident. How's Casey holding up, and will he be available on Sunday?
I talked to Casey yesterday, and I told Casey, in this situation, his brother was in the hospital for a while, then he passed away, and I told him he needs to go home. He needs to go home and be with his family, and we'll take care of this. And if Casey makes it back in place, that's great. If he doesn't, then we certainly understand. But I thought some prayers are with Casey, and we just want him to go home and be with his family right now.
Josh Gordon's coming back for the Browns this week. He's a really good player a couple years ago. How do you sort of prepare and scout for a guy who hasn't played an NFL game in 3 years?
Well, the last time he played, he was all pro. So, we know he's a heck of a receiver, and he's still young. So his skill set probably hadn't diminished much. So we have to prepare for him like the rest of these wide receivers we had to go up against. I'm sure they'll find a way to use him and get him involved.
Is the film, I assume you watched some film from 15, and is that still valid in your mind? Or?
Yeah, because, that skill set, like I say, I'm pretty sure he's still pretty close to it. He's one of the better run-out-the-catch receivers in the National Football League. I know that. So they'll probably try to give him the ball, short, and he'll probably try to run along with it. That's what he's good at.
You had some nice things to say about the Browns, but they're 0-11. Is it challenging to not look at the record or be swayed by that?
Not really for us, because we're not in position, for that to be challenging. We have our own issues, and we're trying to dig ourselves out of the hole that we're in right now. And this team beat us last year, bottom line is. So it won't be a challenge getting ready for this team at all.
How will the sting of last year's loss and them celebrating on the field after being winless and you guys losing, has the team talked about that at all? Will that be an incentive for you to maybe make this one happen since now you have a playoff run?
Oh, well, I didn't know about the celebration on the field. Maybe we should talk about that a little bit. But they remember that loss. They remember it well. And, they're next on the schedule. We're not any motivated to play them than we were to play the Cowboys last week. It's just a game that we need to win.
Anthony, you added another kicker in Travis. What did he look like in the workout? And is it just insurance right now, or is it possible that he plays on Sunday?
You can call it insurance. We need to put a guy on the practice squad and carry him all week to see how Nick's going to be at the end of the week. We'll evaluate Nick and see if he can play. But Travis did a good job in the workout. The last team he played for was the Browns, and he was 88%. So he's had some success in this league, and he's proven that he can kick.
Is there a reason for Travis to bring back Young Wayne, the guy that was with you during the year?
What was that?
Was there a reason for going with Travis instead of bringing back somebody like Young Wayne that was with you for a while?
Well, last time we brought in a group of kickers, we didn't have a chance to bring in Travis, so we wanted to see Travis this time around.
4 of their 11 losses were by just 3 points.
Yeah.
Do you find them similar to you? You had some close losses as well.
Absolutely. And that's what we talked about this morning in the team meeting. I think they're very similar to us because they play for 4 quarters. This team has not quit on Hugh Jackson. This team plays extremely hard.
Anthony, is there a fine line when you're dealing with a winless team to kind of to tell your team like they're dangerous, but not to overdo it to the sense where your team tunes you out? I guess is that a fear?
No, I don't talk about this team being any more dangerous than the Cowboys we played last week. To be honest with you, Dan, you just bring truth. You tell them the truth, and this team is dangerous. They are winless, and they are looking for that first win, and they're going to play their butts off until they get it.
If Casey isn't available Sunday, would Desmond step in at corner? How would you sort of work that?
Michael Davis has been in that backup role on both sides of the field. So, Michael probably would step in, and Desmond would stay in the slot. But Desmond, he can go out. He has that versatility to go out and play corner.
How has Michael grown since the beginning of the season?
Well, I tell you, he's third on our team right now in special team tackles. So that tells you a little something about his development and how he's come around. But he's gotten better, and we have more trust in him out there.
Are you guys preparing for both Cody Kessler
We're just preparing for Kaiser right now. If Cody comes in and plays, he does. But right now, Kaiser is their dual threat. He extend plays, and he can throw the ball.
Where's Mike Williams at in terms of trying to get back from the knee injury?
Well, day to day, he's still knee is still sore. We'll have a chance to evaluate Mike at the end of the week and see where he's at.
Is he going to practice today?
No, he would not practice.
Do you want to be conservative with him just because he's dealt with a number of things this year?
Mike's missed enough time, so if Mike can go, then we like to have him out there.
One more on Casey. If he misses a couple of days of practice, any qualms about him stepping in on Saturday? If he just came back Saturday, would he be impacted in terms of preparation and all that?
He's getting preparation over the telephone, conference calls. He's doing some things to be prepared for this game, and he definitely planned on coming back and playing. So, he'll just step right back in his role. But, sometimes you get home and things change. He may have more on his plate than what he think. And I've just told him, take care of business at home, and we'll take care of this.
Anthony, you haven't coached quarterbacks directly, but you've got a guy like Phillip who throws the football in a uniquely Phillip kind of way. In your career as a coach, have you come across other athletes who do things differently that maybe don't fit sort of the normal, typical script of how you're supposed to do stuff? And how do you kind of decide whether or not to say, keep doing it your way, or we're going to try to get you more inside of what we want it to look like?
Dan, it's funny because my first year coaching was in Denver, and Phillip was coming out, and the scouts were debating his release. And I've always been a pattern guy. If you've been successful doing something your whole life, I believe you're going to figure out a way to get it done, no matter what level you're on. And we felt like he would be a successful NFL quarterback because that's something that he had been doing and been highly successful at it. So, no, I wouldn't want to change anything about it.
Were there voices in that room, though, that wanted him to look?
Oh, you always have doubters, no doubt. No doubt, yeah.
You were 0-4 earlier in the season, and they're 0-11. For a football team searching for its first win, the pressure, the anxiety, what's it like? What are they going through?
Well, I'm not there, so I don't know what the chemistry, the makeup of their team is like, but I just watched the tape, and they play extremely hard, and they're desperately trying to get that first win for their coach.
Keenan Allen's had back-to-back monster games. He's always put up numbers in this league when he's healthy, but what have been your impressions of him the first year you got to see him up close?
Very impressed. Big receiver, quick out of the cuts, can play in the slot, can play outside. A lot of versatility with Keenan. Unselfish, blocks in the run game. He's a guy that you're happy to have on your team, and you want to feed him, you want to get him the ball because he's such an unselfish player.
Coach, where is Nick at health-wise this week compared to where he was last week at this time?
He's from what I hear, he feels decent. But last week we thought he felt decent after the first kick. So I think this week, we'll kick him more, and we'll see before we go into the game because what happened last week cannot happen again. It just cannot.
Thursday then, because I think that's the day that you're probably evaluating.
Thursday and Friday, that would be big evaluation days for him.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Okay. All right.
Still more up in the league, so they play hard. They play a good scheme, and they're a challenging defense.
What are your impressions of Myles Garrett?
He's pretty good. You hear a lot of hype about him coming out, obviously where he was picked, but putting all that aside, he's a good football player.
How will you prepare for Josh Gordon? He's an electrifying receiver, but you haven't seen him play in a few years on the field.
Well, I'll be watching. I'll be standing on the sideline just watching, so when he's in the game. So I don't really have to do much to prepare for him.
Ken, as far as Garrett, is it rare to see, you guys obviously have one in Joey Bosa, but to see guys come in and immediately impact the game from the edge the way that he has, is that common?
You know what? That's a good question. I don't know. I think that you said a little bit like what Joey did last year, right, as a young player. I don't know. I think obviously he was picked high for a reason, and that talent is showing through. I mean, he's a good young player that can bend and has good power and is a good rusher. So, that's a credit to him.
What kind of conversation do you have with somebody like Mike Williams that missed a lot of time, was able to get on the field for a little bit, but then suffers another setback as a rookie that's kind of going through all this roller coaster life?
Well, I think he went through obviously a much worse trauma in college and came out the other side of it. And it was hard. I'm sure it was hard on him missing the time in camp and in the OTAs, but he really was making a lot of progress for us. I think we're just thankful that it wasn't a serious injury that's going to make him miss a lot of time. So, I think the big thing is, hey, you're making positive strides. We really like where you are, and just work hard to get back as soon as you can.
Ken, you guys have a quarterback in Phillip who throws the ball in a very unique way to him. And working with quarterbacks, what's the line in terms of letting guys obviously he's a veteran, you're not going to change his mechanics at this point, but when dealing with younger quarterbacks, what's kind of the line in terms of like, keep doing it your way, it's worked for you, or we're going to try to get you into a more traditional sort of mechanical way of throwing the football?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you could have the answer to that question, you could make a lot of money because with the way evaluating quarterbacks is a hard enough proposition in itself. Not only that, but then trying to change a quarterback is another completely different issue. I think I don't really get into that much. I think to me it's important of the accuracy of their throws, the timing of their throws, and how they do that. And so, I don't really have a philosophy per se on trying to change a quarterback's motion, which is what I think you're asking me.
As a guy who, played the game, did anyone ever talk to you about your mechanics and try to...
Of throwing the football? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said, why don't you move to tight end instead of playing quarterback? That was pretty much enough. That was pretty much enough, yeah.
Coach, have you tried to change any quarterback's motion, mechanics, and how to...
You know what? I think it's when you talk about the mechanics of the throw, I think sometimes that's a slippery slope. Now, when you talk about something completely different, which is footwork, two hands on the ball, how they do that, some of the mechanics of playing the position, yes, then I do believe that there are things that you can do to help a quarterback get better with that. But, once again, there's all kinds of different throwing motions and different ways have different players have different ways to be successful. So there is part of it, but I think it's more from the technical standpoint, not the throwing motion itself, but how you play the position, what you're looking at, what you're trying to do under center, where your feet are, how you hold the ball, all those kind of things. You try to work to what you think can help them get better.
Does the way Phillip throws well with his different release angles, does that create different passing alleys that wouldn't exist if he threw it more zero, like more traditional?
I really couldn't answer that question. I think the thing that's most important to me, which I think one of the things that's the most amazing about Phillip is the accuracy of his throws. There have been a couple of throws this year where he's actually thrown the ball on the other side of the defender, and it gets there right at the same time the defender clears when the offensive player clears the defender. He did it with Austin in the Giant game. There was one late in the series, and he did it last week to Tyrell on the shallow. And you see those kind of things often with him. I think that's the thing that's been most impressive to me about Phillip is not so much how he throws it, but how well he puts the ball in the spots where they can catch it. I think that's from throwing a lot of balls as you were growing up and, just having that feel for it. I mean, I think some of the best guys that you've ever seen play the position, you can debate all day on how you throw the football, but the ones that deliver it accurately, consistently, you see that all the time. You're amazed with, gosh, how did he get that ball in there, or how did he make that throw? And, that's just some of these guys are just gifted that way.
Coach, the Chargers played against the Giants and Eli early this year. What was your reaction to the news that they're benching him in New York? And with his streak and then Phillip's streak right behind?
I mean, obviously that's another team, so you don't know what's going on with their situation. I can tell you this. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Eli and what he's done in this league. I mean, he's won 2 Super Bowls, and he's been a great football player. And I think one of the things to me that's even more impressive is the streak that he's had of consecutive starts. So even though I'm not there, I feel for him because I know how much he's meant to the game, and certainly from what I see, how much he's meant to that team. So, it's a hard thing from a standpoint, but once again, I don't know him and I don't know the situation.
With Rivers coming off one of the best games of his career and you have all this balance on offense, are you pleased with what you're seeing from your team at this point this season going into a playoff search?
Well, I mean, we've improved a little bit. I think there's a lot of things that we can still work on to get better. I like the way that we've played the last 2 weeks. But to be honest with you, we just weren't. I said earlier in the season, we're working to get better and improve, and we still have to do that. I mean, we had a good game against Dallas, but there's no time to say we've arrived by any stretch. We got to continue to work and try to get better at some of the things that for instance, scoring on our first possession. That's one of the things that we can get better at. We can get better in the red zone. There's a lot of things that we've got to continue to improve on, but it's nice to see the way that we have made some improvements.
Can you tell me your impressions of Gordon? Let me rephrase that first question I gave you. What a great player he is, even though he hasn't been on the field for the last 3 weeks.
I've never been on the field with him. I don't think I've ever played where he's been on the field at the same time. I've been around some guys that have been with him or have played against him, and he's an impressive guy from what I understand. If you look at statistically some of the things that he's done, obviously he's very impressive. So, I would prefer it if he waited another week before he came back.
You had Keenan Allen as a rookie, and he had a 1,000-yard season. He's had back-to-back monster games, a really big season. How has he changed over the last 5 years?
He's gotten better with age. I mean, he unfortunately last year he got one half of a game, and that was it. And he really had a good camp. But I think one of the things that was really good about him is how he worked hard to come back from the injury last year. He's lost a little bit of weight. He's moving really well, and you can see it. You can see it in his explosiveness. You can see it in the way he's doing some of the things that he's doing on the football field. So, he really has a great feel for the game and is really playing at a high level for us right now.